Well, that cast there, I've got to say, I was very, very pleased with. Seemed to go very well. We have got maybe a 5 to 6 mile an hour wind, but it's coming across the port in this sort of direction. So, whilst you've heard me talk about I use end tension on the reel to control the braking, I mean, let's just talk about braking a little bit. What I've got in this reel is I've got ABEX 7 bearings. The reason I use ABEX 7 bearings, and I know everybody's going to tell you that they're too tight, is that this plug outfit is very, very difficult to control. Whilst ABEX 7 bearings are slightly tighter in the tolerances, end plate, radial plate, etc, etc, they offer bearing braking. Now, bearing braking I wouldn't want in my big reels casting 175, 200, 100 gram weights even, but on 18 gram I want to use marginal braking that is on throughout the cast, because the slightest mistake, and this is goodbye, it's literally that hard to do. I'm not trying to put you off doing it, I'm trying to encourage you to do it, but all you do is it's just a quarter of a mark of end tension. There's no blocks or nothing in this reel, it's literally, it's tournament XS, okay, that's the one up from Red Rocket Fuel. In the winter I will drop down to Red Rocket Fuel and an ABEX 7 bearing, but at the moment, because it's quite warm still, I've got Rocket Fuel XS oil, and we're talking maybe one controlled drop in each bearing, that is it. A touch of end tension, and you'll hear that screaming now. Today, because I've got a slight crosswind, I'm not removing that end tension until it's well away. Normally, as soon as it's gone, and as soon as I'm like, oh, she's away, then I will just ease that end tension, but not today because I might lose 1 or 2 meters. The other thing you'll notice as well is that I'm casting very, very low. There's a reason for that. In UKSF type casting, where the weight hits the ground, it's normally going to stick in. That's where you'll get the measure from. ICSF plug games, it's where the plug comes to rest, which means, and Colin Howlett put me onto this, if you cast low and you use the old Barnes-Wallis effect where she hits the ground and it gets pulled along, even if it only gets pulled along by 5 centimetres, it can be the difference between winning your country a gold, a silver or a bronze medal, or absolutely nothing. So we've got to take every advantage that this game throws at us, because there aren't many. Anyway, let's do another cast, and again we'll see what happens. This time I'm going to be slightly more aggressive, and I might back it off slightly quicker. Actually, the wind's come up a little bit there, so this might go a little... Nice one. Well, for those of you who can count, I've just walked 244 metres. Split that by 2 and you'll work out how far that went. Now, okay, don't take these distances as being red, because the wind has picked up to about 7 miles an hour. That would mean that in the ICSF World Games or similar, that would not count, okay? It would count on the day, but it would not count as a record or anything like that. All you can do is cast in the conditions that we've got. But, you know, I'm quite happy with that. 122 metres is a good cast. It just goes to show you that technique and speed, have you noticed how fast I'm moving the rod there at the end? To achieve this, I've shortened the grip down from what I would normally use. Because I have now lost 5 stone in weight, am moving faster. So, don't, you know, before, 2 or 3 months ago, I was whining saying it was a big disadvantage, but what I've done is I've now turned it to my advantage. I think casters should step back, forget about looking at people like Jason Willicombe and Danny Moscops and Scott Selby and me and Mark Jenkins and Andy Miller and Peter Thane, and start thinking, look in the mirror and say, what attributes do I have? And then use them to your advantage. That is the best tip that I can give you. When I steered away from trying to emulate A, B, C and D, and suddenly I became X, my distance piled on. I wasn't trying to copy anybody. It was a case of just working within my confidence and within the technique that I'd developed, and trying to get the very, very best from it. Now, it might not be the best cast in the world, the X cast, but it works for me, and it probably works for quite a lot of other people. But you should never take something and try and carbon copy it, because it probably won't work to the same level as the guy that you're trying to emulate. That's just a little tip. But there are certain things that I'm doing within this cast, like I'm not using a rotating step, because I believe that using a rotating step narrows down your power stroke. This is why you'll see me and I step back, because as I step back it leaves the rod where it needs to be, so I've got the full use of power stroke. Then I can plant my foot down as I'm turning my head, and I've still got nearly full use of power stroke. It's just then a case of utilising all the speed and all the technique and all the muscles that I've been building over the last 5 months and nailing it as hard as I can. The end. And then the next thing is walk and see how far it's gone. It's that simple.